It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is What Made the Cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
One of our insiders for KSLSports.com when it comes to hockey, one of the hosts of, or the host of the Utah Puck Report, he is Jay Stevens. Jay, thanks for being with us on the show, man.
Gentlemen, it's good to be with you guys again. Can't wait to talk about hockey. But wait, so all of us with the face for radio that have been hiding behind radio mics for all these years, and now they're just going to put us on TV again?
You will hide no more.
You didn't get the memo? They actually said, and Jay Stevens is going to have to shave his legendary mustache. That's part of the deal.
Never.
Never. Yeah, I think this was in my contract.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. We got to get, you know what we need to do? We need to send some pictures of Raleigh fingers to Jay and get him some mustache wax. Let's get that thing curled up on the edges. That's going to be your shtick. Have it be like the old Raleigh fingers mustache.
I remember old Raleigh fingers.
Oh, yeah.
You guys got to look up Lanny McDonald. That's what I'm going for. I want this crazy. I'm just not a redhead, but I just want a crazy Lanny McDonald type mustache.
Let's talk some hockey here, Jay. And I haven't been more invested in a hockey game, I don't think, my entire life than I was for Team USA and Canada facing off in Montreal. The first period, obviously the 3 fights within 9 seconds. Have you ever seen something like that? There's one thing where they kind of decide, like, hey, look, this is going down. Like, it's predetermined, like, hey, they'll skate up to each other and be like, you and me, dude, like right now. And that's how some of these just kind of get worked out. But you heard him talking about how a lot of it just popped up organically, the booing during the U.S. national anthem, the political underpinnings of the weirdness of what's going on between these two countries, on top of the fact that Team USA is playing as good a hockey as they have as a national team maybe ever. Am I overstating that? This is maybe the best that Team USA's been in a long time?
No, that's 100% accurate, and that's the problem, right? Is Canada's used to us not being this good, and it was weird because leading into this, everybody's like, the U.S. is favored, and then I'd look at Canada's roster and I'd be like, how are we favored? But when you see a line with like McDavid, Mark Stone, and Braden Point, and then they follow that up with Crosby, McKinnon, and Reinhart, you're just like, man, that's a lot to take on. But the U.S. has stepped up. We play North American style of hockey, and it's just right in your face the way the Canadians have always played it, and it's been fun. And yeah, there have been a couple NHL games that have started with line brawls back in the day, but man, those Kachucks, they just bring the energy, and it's so much fun watching them play together. And everybody's into it, right? You guys say you're into it. I was in the emergency room yesterday as a patient this time, not as a paramedic,
Whoa.
but I just had a kidney stone, no big deal, but I went into Altiview ER, and the nurse came in, and I'm like, hey, I guess I got to make sure this TV works because there's a game on at 11 that I want to watch. And she's like, oh, the import game's not even until Thursday. What are you even worried about? And I was like, wow. Everybody knows, man. Everybody's watching it. This is really becoming a hockey market.
It's the whole country's into this. In fact, the whole continent is. Over 11 million viewers in North America for that game on Saturday that, by the way, was just a round-robin game. Wait till the championship on Thursday. You've got nurses talking about it. So what do you know about the origin of Four Nations? How did this idea come to be about? How did it develop? Because it's been absolutely genius.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I had to do some looking into it to figure it out because it's new, right? We've had Six Nations before. We've had other things, but not during an all-star break and not part of the NHL. This is kind of the first time the NHL has been like, hey, we're going to do this thing, and it's going to go against everything that makes sense for an all-star break. Because, and I'm sure you've seen the tweets where people are like, yeah, the NFL's turned their all-star game into a flag football game. The NBA, nobody even works up a sweat, and the NHL's throwing haymakers 9 seconds in. So it's, we're not exactly protecting our highest assets in the NHL, which is what is, the U.S. and Canada, those are our highest assets we have for the NHL. We're only missing the Russians, and hopefully all that nonsense gets settled. So next All-Star break, we can have a Five Nations or a Six Nations tournament again. Because man, this is so much fun to watch.
Would they be open? I mean, do you think that could take over what the kind of the old All-Star? And they're like, look, name your All-Stars, but this means more.
Next year we'll have the Olympics. So
well, yeah, and
it wouldn't be an every year.
I just imagine that this type of a weekend that they had, and now of course here in the state of Utah, this is all like come into even deeper focus because we're all in on hockey right now. And so, but I would imagine that when you have the amount of mainstream fans who are rolling in and going, I'm watching this team. I'm watching Team USA, man. Like, this is what you need. And so I don't know if they'd be open to having this type of a format like every year. But, I mean, and again, like years that they're the Olympics, that takes precedence, obviously. But what on earth, like, I mean, I'm trying to imagine when the NHL, like, they also just have this organic, like, these guys, they just play hard all the time. There's no convincing them to play hard in hockey. This is just what they do.
Yeah. And, you know, it's one thing. Hockey players want to win every time they touch the ice. And it's tough because you don't want to get hurt during an all-star break. You know what's on the line. And a lot of these guys are, you know, in the hunt for the Stanley Cup. And Bettman, you know, as much grief as people give him about some of his decisions, he went with this. He's like, hey, we need to see what's going to go on with the Olympics. And then, you know, when you get that kind of viewership and you make that much money and you can say, hey, this is what we're going to do every non-Olympic year. We're going to make it kind of like the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, our own little World Cup, which we also still have. We still have the World Championship coming up. But it's hard to say they wouldn't do it again because you know it's profitable. And it's so much fun to watch, and it's definitely growing the game. And those are kind of the three criteria that they're looking for if they're going to step into it. Now, we've had some injuries. We'll see how that hurts their NHL clubs in the playoffs to see, you know, you got to weigh the risk versus the worth. But I just see this being a thing. And you're right. The NHL players, they're going to be intense. And it's one thing when you put that, you know, you put your NHL sweater on, you want to win the cup. When you put the USA sweater on, you're playing for that flag, and you've seen it in Miracle. You're playing for the name on the front, not the back. And these guys you've seen it. They'll fight. It's the blood, sweat, and tears that you hear about, and they're willing to, you know, put it all out there on the line. And just, man, what a game. What a tournament. So much fun.
Well, let's look ahead to Thursday. You mentioned some injuries. Charlie McAvoy's not going to play for Team USA. I don't know how big of a loss that's going to be overall for them, but you never want to see anybody out with a game with this much on the line. What are some of the things that you're looking to see or you're most interested or curious about when they rematch on Thursday?
Well, for one, Canada's putting Kel McCarr back in the lineup. He was ill that day. One of the best players in the National Hockey League. One of the, you know, he is the standing defensive champion. He is, you know, he is the best player out there right now defensively. Losing McAvoy definitely hurts the U.S. He's one of my all-time favorite players. I mean, he's just an all-American kid. You just love everything about him, and he plays real gritty. But we're bringing in Quinn Hughes, who was supposed to be on the roster in the first place. Phenomenal defenseman. Just a great setup. He actually kind of reminds me of Clayton Keller, the way he sees the ice and makes those passes, but he's a defenseman. And he's an outstanding top 4 defenseman in the league. And so, yeah, we lose McAvoy. We get Hughes, which we wanted him in the first place. Canada is bringing in Kel McCarr. And that, you know, I feel like that tips the boat a little bit in Canada's favor. Plus, trying to beat Canada twice, it's going to be a fight. But I think you're going to see the U.S. come out. I think you're going to see just as much intensity. There's no respect. I don't know if you guys saw this, and some guys were talking about how, you know, you saw how hard Crosby got hit. You saw how hard Doughty got hit, and McKinnon. Those guys aren't used to being hit like that. Because, yeah, you could take the body on the superstars in the NHL, but you can't run them like that. But in international tournaments, the gloves are off. The unwritten code is, hey, this is the international tournament. We're gonna play you just like you're anybody else. So that's why you saw those guys getting hit, and it rattled them a little bit. They're going to be expecting it this time, so we're just going to see a bloodbath, I think. A really good, clean hockey game with some really good hits and probably a few more fights.
Well, then where's the good, clean part? I mean, look, you don't want it to be clean. I don't want a clean hockey game on Thursday. I want to see a mess.
Bloody mess.
Yeah, I mean,
all
look.
about tariffs too. Remind him about the tariffs.
You can definitely have a bloody match. You can definitely it'll be just as physical as you want it to be, but it'll be clean. And that's something, I don't know. There are bloodbaths that are dirty hockey, and then there are bloodbaths that are just good, clean, inside the rule, clean hit, physical hockey. That's what you're going to see. You're going to see the best of the best playing within the rules, and the gloves are going to come off, so penalties are going to be made. You know what's crazy is both these teams have 100% penalty kill coming into this game.
Wow.
Like, you just don't see that 3-4 games into a tournament like this, but both of them are at 100%. So they're going to want to stay out of the box. These power plays are going to be unstoppable almost. It's amazing that they've done so well so far, but you're just not going to want to get in there and take a stupid penalty. So you'll see clean, you'll definitely see physical, and it's going to be the most fun you're going to have this week. And I can't imagine another game being this good. This is like a Game 7 Stanley Cup championship right here.
Valimaki and Mata were the two invited, of course, to play for Team Finland, go back and play in the Four Nations tournament for their nationality. What guys do you see on this roster for this Utah Hockey Club now that could be playing for their countries? And if there were going to be another type of these, like who's on the edge of being able to make one of these or could make their national team like in a tournament style like this in the future?
Well, Clayton Keller, number one, he should have been there.
He was close, yeah.
He should be on a line with Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews, one of the most pure goal scorers we have in the National Hockey League. Clayton Keller, one of the best setup guys we have in the National Hockey League, American-born. He should have been there. Cooley and Gunnar, I mean, they're coming. They're going to be superstars in this league. They've already done really well internationally. And that's the funny thing is all of our guys have played nationally. Barrett Hayton, if you look up his international play, he was with Team Canada when they lost the gold in World Juniors, and the Russians lost their mind because in the lineup he left his helmet on, and he wasn't thinking. He was just thinking, hey, we just lost a game. And he was trying to process that, and they just lost their minds on him. So there's a little bit of a history there, too, with Hayton. So you'll see these guys with Team Canada, Team USA in the future, and then obviously we've got some Russians, we've got some Czechs. So we're going to see a lot of these guys in these tournaments if this keeps going. Utah is very well represented in the youth movement. They've done such a good job on drafting that we've just got some superstars coming up, and a lot of them are American, which I like.
Well, in 4 days, we're going to get to see the Utah Hockey Club back out on the ice as the regular season will resume, 7 p.m. Saturday night against the Kings. What are your thoughts on what the Utah Hockey Club has to do right out of the gate here to get right in position to make a run at a Stanley Cup playoff spot? How important are the games like this against the Kings on the road and the schedule coming up for them to get on track to be able to do that?
The King game is kind of some free points for us. It's not one of the big, conference swing games that you look at where it's a 4-point swing. So hopefully we go in and we earn a couple points. What it really comes down to is who is going to be healthy this week. We recalled Josh Doan today. We recalled Jackson Stauber today. So you're going to have those players on the ice. We know Doan's probably going to be here the rest of the year. They sent him down for some fine-tuning during this tournament, and he's just using his big body and playing really well. Jackson Stauber, while he was here, he was great. But are we finally going to get Dursey back on the ice with Marino, back on the ice with Cooley, Gunther? Are we finally going to see, for the first time this year, the roster that the Utah Hockey Club wanted at the first night? Because injuries have just kept it from happening. We have not had one game where we had the starting night roster that they dreamed of out there. We picked up Ole Mata to fill in some holes. He's been amazing, and it's going to be great to have him out there, but we need Dursey, Sergachev. We need those guys to be healthy and all playing together. If we have that, which I really, truly think we do by the end of this week, you're going to see Utah Hockey Club at its finest making that chase. And we've got a shot, man. We've got a real shot. We can beat these teams. We've been losing 1-goal games, and we still haven't had our best guys out.
Jay Stevens joining us. You can, of course, follow his byline at KSLSports.com. Utah Puck Report. You can also follow that podcast as well. When it kind of gets down to it, and this team is firing back up here, like how big of a hole is it to dig out of because points wise, it doesn't look like they're in that bad of shape. But the reality is that from the standpoint of trying to claw a few back from a team because the reality is they got to run down. They got to make sure they stay in front of the Flames, who they're, I think, a few points behind. But it's the Canucks that are at 63 points that are 7 points ahead of the Hockey Club, but they still get to play Vancouver a couple times, and the matchups matter. I don't know how well they match up against Vancouver.
They match up pretty well against Vancouver, and we're going to see them. And that's what's good is we're going to see them coming up pretty soon. I think it's this week sometime or next week.
Yeah, I know they play them twice in the first month here of coming back. So
yeah, and that's going to be good for us. Vancouver has been struggling.
On Sunday actually.
Ooh, you've seen all the drama that they've had, and they've had it's been kind of a weird deal, right? We expected Vancouver to be, in those top 3 slots, not in a wild card spot. So they're at 63 points. We're at 57 points. So we play them twice. You figure that's an 8-point swing in those 2 games. If we can beat Vancouver, Vancouver's got solid goaltending and Thatcher Demko, but they've been struggling with team chemistry, and that's where Utah Hockey Club's at its strongest. Like Bear has those guys just believing in the team and the new environment and the process, and they're a strong knit group that really seems to like and support each other. And Vancouver is not that. So Calgary, they've had some hits or misses too. Kind of actually surprised that we didn't see their goaltender on Team USA, that Wolf. He's a freaking amazing goaltender. But outside of goaltending, Calgary's been struggling. So those teams are within reach for that wild card spot. I don't see us taking the Avalanche because they're getting healthy, just like we're getting healthy. But I think we get that second wild card spot. I think we can flip with Vancouver and Calgary.
6 p.m. You're gonna get that puck drop for Team USA versus Canada in the Four Nations Championship. Wouldn't have it any other way with those 2 teams facing off again. Nice little rematch from the bloodbath that was on Friday night. So we're excited to see this one go down and see how it all turns out here. But yes, Team USA, 6 o'clock at TD Garden in Boston, and so we're looking forward to watching it. We're looking forward to the rest of the NHL season firing back up this weekend as well. So, Jay Stevens, Utah Puck Report, KSLSports.com. We appreciate it, man. Keep that mustache in shape.
Will do. Thanks, guys. Hit me up anytime you want to talk hockey.
We'll do it. There you go, Jay Stevens.